Thanks for checking in to Pivoting to Web3 podcast. Go to pivotingtoweb3podcast.com to download and listen, or Web3 Game Plan to check out the videos. Thank you. We're shaping tomorrow together. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Welcome to Pivoting to Web3. And today our guest is Arvin Khamseh. Is a globally recognized thought leader in the crypto space with an impressive background in investor relationship marketing for public companies. Since successfully selling out an Italian artist collection in 2021, Arvin has consulted with more than 400 NFT brands and several major successes, including multi-million-dollar sellouts. Khamseh has strong agency partnerships with Reddit, Twitter, Quora, and Meta, and is rated the #1 NFT marketing expert on Fiverr. He is regularly quoted by major media, USA Today, Forbes, Entrepreneur, and a frequent guest on top crypto podcasts. Arvin is also a popular featured keynote speaker and panelist at high-profile blockchain events around the world, including blockchain festivals, TMRW Conference, IFPX, Metaverse Week, and AIBC Sigma. Today, I'd like to welcome Arvin to Pivoting to Web3. Arvin, hello, how are you today? Thank you for being on Pivoting to Web3 podcast. I am just so excited to have you, and I am just so interested in you saying hello to my listeners because you are special today on this podcast. How are you, Arvin?
Fantastic. Thank you so much for having me. You're such great energy. Thank you for having me here.
Well, thank you for taking the time, and I'm interested in our guest sharing with us how his journey in the Web3 space and what inspired him to come into blockchains and NFTs, because we're going to get into this because this is the first time we've had someone like you in NFTs.
Very cool. Yeah. So I started in the marketing side of things, and I grew from working from small businesses, even startups, all the way into Fortune 500 companies, public companies, and then doing large media buying for them. So I was profitably spending up to $500K a month for these companies. Essentially, my job was finding short-term and long-term investors for these public companies, and then also being able to just get the content of these companies across to the investors, so then they stay, right? So that was the goal. Then 2021, I mean, I actually got introduced to crypto 2016, but in 2021, that's when I started actually by flipping NFTs. So I was buying NFTs and then selling it for a lot larger price, and it was very simple because it was during the bull run. Everyone was making money. It wasn't just me. And then I got to meet this Italian artist who wanted to essentially sell out his one-of-one collection. I didn't know much about how the blockchain worked or the NFTs or anything like that, but I knew marketing really well. So I sold out his collection, but just understanding essentially from him, like what he's selling, who he's selling to, so on and so forth. And then that got me interested into actually expanding into that market, because I realized there are not that many people who are in that industry actually helping out artists, right? And I also like working with artists. I like to look at their art. And so fast forward, I worked with a lot of projects on advising side of things. And at some point, I mean, a lot of people were asking me as well, but at some point I just realized, I was like, okay, well, I've done this for other people. Why not just do it for myself? So then I launched my own collection. Actually, about a month ago, we sold out the free mint version in 2 minutes. There was 6,000 NFTs, 2,000 holders on the largest largest marketplace to date, which is Magic Eden. And then the paid mint, we also have it coming up in about 2 weeks, and whatever the raise we're gonna do. But that's so essentially, in short, I've helped a lot of projects in Web3 as an advisor, as a provider, And then also I have my own project that I've launched successfully and just continue to grow. It's a 10,000 member Discord of traders. We essentially, so my NFTs literally, we provide signals to average person on a daily basis, crypto signals, and then they essentially use the signals to be able to just profit, especially in this time, which is the upcoming bull run.
So for my audience, there's going to be a lot of people that really don't know what an NFT is. Could you kind of let's walk us back a little bit on what an NFT is, what it does, the functionality, and so they can understand everything else that you're talking about.
Yeah, so obviously what NFT was back in 2021 was you would look at these images of animals that people would essentially select as a profile picture for their Twitter, for a short period of time for their Instagram, and that's what people knew about it. And then it's actually kind of funny because about, I want to say maybe 6-7 months ago, one of the large publications, I don't want to name it, but one of the large publications, they interviewed me on why NFTs are dead, and then so it's actually really funny. They reached out to me for this because I'll be obviously defending the
exactly.
NFT.
It's not dead.
Web3 space, but having said that, I think that will give people a good reference on how NFT has evolved and what NFT actually is. So that's why I pointed out, because while in the past it was just about these images, let's say overpriced digital images, that's what people knew of them, right? What it is now is significantly different. And I want to give you some real life examples of the NFTs, and then also just explain like what NFTs is. So NFT stands for non-fungible token, and just like a token that is fungible, we have, let's say, another version of it that's non-fungible, meaning it cannot be duplicated. So there's only one version of it. Okay, so now NFTs are essentially, if I even just let's say simplify it even further, it's essentially a series of you can think of it as almost like a link to an image on the blockchain. So blockchain, if you think about it, is literally, just think about all these like blocks of data, and then these NFTs, or whatever images that we would see, and then we think of them as NFTs, they have a specific link that would essentially refer to that specific image. And then if you own an NFT, you literally basically own that link, right? And then it would just be yours and yours only, and it's connected to you on the blockchain. So now that people, having some understanding of what NFTs are, I want to say like why is useful in, for example, in my own collection, and some of the things that is actually happening right now.
Perfect.
Yeah. So, and that actually starts making way more sense once people understand the use cases. So, in my own collection, what we do is we provide crypto signals to average person to be able, essentially we tell people, we say, hey, buy specific coin at a specific price, sell it at a specific price, and we tell people, hey, we think it's going to go up or it's going to go down, and then based on our signals, which we actually execute ourselves as well, so essentially we invested in those coins as well, and those signals are provided to other people. It's by traders. They've been in it for years. We have a live profit and loss sheet for people to see. Like, it's not like we just tell some coins to people and say, hey, this is a signal, but then we don't know what's happening, or they can essentially, they can look into it and see if this is something they want to get into, right? But the point is, the NFT in this scenario allows people to get access to the community that we have. That's what the NFT does. So now I want to even let's say simplify it a step further. You can think of it like this. In the past, you would buy a subscription from a trader in the trading community, and this is not just for trading, by the way. I'm going to give you other examples in art, real estate, but let's say in trading community. In the past, you would buy a subscription, and then that subscription would allow you to speak with one of the traders that you bought the subscription from, And then they will give you signals. You would pay a monthly fee. For example, let's say $100, $500, few $1,000s a month, right? You would pay this person. They would provide you signals every month, right? So that's the current, that's been the business model of essentially a lot of traders who are sharing their signals online. Now, how this has changed is this. So in the example of the subscription model, let's say I'm a buyer of that model. I come in, I pay, let's say $100 to you as a trader. So my money, my $100 money went from my account to your account. And then I got a subscription as a result, right? And every month we repeat this process. Now, with NFTs, let's say instead of paying you the $100, I buy a $100 NFT instead. Now that money hasn't gone to only just your bank account. It's actually gone to a digital asset, in this case NFT. Now that $100 can then, let's say I went through 20 days of trading with you and I'm like, I don't really like it, right? Maybe you're not a good trader, right? And then I'd be like, okay, so I want to sell it. Now I can now sell that digital asset potentially at the same price or even higher price. So I've got my trading from you. I've got my crypto signals from you. Imagine any service. I got the services from you. Yeah. And then the way I paid it went into an asset instead of paying it to your bank account. Now that asset, I can either sell it at the same price or even at a higher price in some cases, right? Or maybe slightly lower, right? And so now what happened in this scenario is, I learned something new. Maybe I made even some money with the trading that first 20 days, first 25 days. And then I got access to an asset, which I can sell, and it's liquid, right? I can sell it. And then you still got paid because that money that I sent for that digital asset portion of it went to your wallet, let's say digital wallet in this scenario. And then now it goes even further. So now let's say I'd be like, yeah, I really don't like any of these services I'm getting from you. I want to sell it, right? And I sell it to, let's say, my anyone really on the internet. But let's just for a simplification, let's say I sell it to someone, let's say, some male, 25-year-old from, let's say, the US, right? Now, when I sold the digital asset that was giving me access to your services, then not only I promoted you, but I also made you money again, because for every transaction of that digital asset being sold to anyone for life, you will get a royalty, right? So now, first of all, I don't have as much as risk to come in and just try out your trading services. I could become an investor by essentially learning and using your services. I could sell it. I could get my money back, even though I've already gotten my learning and my services, whatever they are. And then I've also promoted you, and you made money throughout this whole process as well. So from me buying it and me selling it again. Now, this is completely different to that subscription model, right? So now it doesn't matter NFTs are dead or NFTs are not dead. This technology is now being used on actually disrupting that existing model that was out there. Doesn't matter if the NFT is going to represent a let's say photo of a lion or a penguin. Like, doesn't matter what it is, right? What matters is actually how I'm using this NFT and how you using it to actually leverage your services, to sell your services. So that's one prime example for service-based businesses, and this is true for everyone. And just to again sum it up, that NFT allowed me access to essentially your membership communities. So let's say you have a Telegram community, you have a, say, Discord community where you put all those signals. With my NFT, I'm the only person. I have to have that NFT. I have to verify myself with that NFT to be able to access your communities, right? So this is how, go ahead.
So I was getting ready to say, so for those listening that have been listening to Pivoting to Web3 for quite some time, and you've been hearing about NFTs, maybe in band royalty and disruption there, or some other utilizations in real estate, you may find some conversations in the podcast regarding real estate transactions or mortgages and selling, or just as maybe there's an artist that we've had on, Tirza. She was on, I think, episode 5. The artists really end up making money, as Arvin is saying right now. It's an investment. Everybody makes money. They don't get left behind. And it's really something of a really great, awesome technology that does do benefits for us now going forward on the blockchain. So tell us a little bit more about some of the successes you've had and what you have going on in your collections, and give us some insight on what people really need to, well, not just people, but let's just say certain brands or companies that you work with. Give them some advice on how to do these campaigns and strategies that you've used that have been so successful.
Yes, this is great. So I guess I combine that with just some additional life, let's say real life examples of NFTs. That way will answer both. So another example would be tokenizing real estate, or tokenizing, let's say, a painting, like a real life, like a physical painting. Now, in the painting side of things, let's say, I mean, I'm gonna exaggerate in this, but let's say Mona Lisa, right? So let's say it's not the value of Mona Lisa, but let's say Mona Lisa was evaluated, appraised at $10 million. Typical average, like let's say ordinary person doesn't usually buy a $10 million artwork on a daily basis. They may buy artwork that's, let's say, $500, $1,000, right? That's maybe even more common, right? Maybe it's not as common, but it's more common. Now, with fractionalization of any artwork that's in the galleries right now, right? Then what happens is, let's say I'm an art collector. I could never buy Mona Lisa because it's in billions, it's so expensive, right? But I could own a piece of that art, and the NFT will certify the ownership into that artwork. Now I'm actually an owner, well, let's say part owner of Mona Lisa, right? And obviously Mona Lisa is not being fractionalized, right? But there are a lot of artwork that are in $1 million, and you can actually now start owning into them, right? And then when the art is sold, then you can actually take a portion of profit for yourself. And then exact same thing is actually true for real estate as well. I mean, not everyone can get into real estate on a daily basis, but they can get into a specific, like let's say at their own pace, right? Whatever dollar amount they can actually get into it. And there are actually projects, for example, in Dubai, we have some projects that people, you can actually buy a portion of a real estate. They issue you an NFT, and you still get like a title deed for it as well. So it's not like it's just all imaginary things. And then you can actually, once they rent that, let's say if it's like a single family home, once they rent that, you can actually, based on how many NFTs you have, you can actually receive a portion of the rent. And so point is, NFTs came in, it was hypey, overpriced pictures. Now it's actually about the technology, right? So the technology is actually very useful, and we do not have actually an alternative. So if someone says internet is dead, it's the equivalent of just, what people were saying, like, for example, right now, being like NFTs is dead. Well, in 2000, obviously internet was a big thing, right? And then now the use cases of internet is really what matters. Same thing with NFTs. So NFT is not going to be dead. NFT is a technology, but the hype of the NFT for buying overpriced pictures, yes, that is dead, and better that is dead. Like, I mean, it was kind of useless anyways. So that's that. And then with the next thing, I know we don't have a lot of time. So the next thing on how to actually build these things. So if you understand what it actually matters inside the NFT world now, right? So it's not about overpriced pictures anymore. So the narrative has changed since 2021 to what it is right now. Then based on that, you can build a community. You can build a community around something that's useful, right? So for example, tokenization of art, I said, membership based, let's call it even token gated membership communities. Like that's how That's how we call it, which is what I've done. And so these are the things that are actually useful. So first thing is actually coming up with that idea, or just obviously join someone else's idea and just invest into them, right? And then the second thing is not actually building on the previous narratives, right? So the current narratives that we have. And then really, you got to build a Discord community. You got to build a Telegram community. These are just different platforms on social medias for people who may not be aware of it. And then once you build those, then you set up a time. You say, hey, like on a specific date, we're going to sell this many of the NFTs. You accumulate a specific dollar amount of raise. I mean, right now, once we hit like the midst of the bull run, it's going to be larger. But right now, usually people do like, let's say 300 to 500K raises. Previous bull run, we were doing 10 million, $20 million raises. It was crazy. And then that community is now with you. You got to continue delivering to them whatever services, or if it's the artwork, whatever that is. Now those are going to be the utility of that NFT, and you're going to be delivering to them. So obviously we need a lot more time to talk about like how to build everything, but that's pretty much on the high level what that is. So it's essentially just coming up with the utility first, build a community around it, set a time, and just say everyone comes in, buys those NFTs at that specific time, and then that's basically how these launches happen.
So we have some time. If you have some time, I don't want to excuse it, but I still have a little bit more time because this is really a great conversation. So when you did your token gated community, and as you move forward with that, were there any challenges that you could share, or did you work out a lot of the kinks previously with all your experience? What specific advice? How does a brand get in it and not mess it up? Let's cut to the chase. It seemed like a lot of brands and corporations, they jumped in, they lost a lot of money, they didn't do things right. The decentralized community is totally different in the environment. What advice would you give someone who's listening today, who's a CTO, CMO, CEO, trainers? What would you tell brands, entrepreneurs that have a lot of vision and ambitious and want to get in this space but don't want to mess it up and don't have the money to mess it up? What would you tell them?
That's really fair. And example of that, again, I don't work with Porsche, but example of that is Porsche, for example. They came in and they had a not so successful launch in the Web3. And now again, it's also questionable, like what's successful, what's not successful.
Explain that piece. Why wasn't it successful, do you think, in your opinion, with that?
Exactly. Yeah. So
to someone listening,
of course. So in the Web3 savvy person's eyes, what's successful is one thing and one thing only, and that's how much money it was raised, and if the NFT project sold out. That is it. Like it's a very, I don't know, it's more like a maybe investment type of mentality, right? Because they may be invested themselves, or they think of it as an investment. But then again, what I see, I would say, is maybe a hybrid version. So that's obviously important, right? Because the market says so, right? So you can't just also like deny that, be like, oh no, it's okay, we don't want to sell out. Because then you're just going into a market, and then you're not really let's say respecting their culture, right? Because that's the culture, right? Mm-hmm. And then but what maybe is far more important in reality is actually, this is a business. So this is not like a thing you do on the side, right? This is an actual business. So you promise certain utilities, certain let's say deliveries. Now in the service based scenarios you mentioned, for example, for us, our utility will be providing signals, and we have traders, we pay them salaries, and then these traders provide signals to people who own an NFT, right? And if someone just, let's say, sells their NFT, they'll no longer have access to our signals, right? That's the simplified version of how that works. So what's successful, what's not successful in that specific scenario is they had to stop their sales. So I think they minted, this is some time ago, I wrote about this actually, I think on Rolling Stone Council or something, but basically what happens was I think they had 2,000 maybe NFTs, and they sold maybe 60% of it, something along those lines, and then they had to stop. Right now, okay, so if you say that's unsuccessful, then how could they have prevented that from happening? Because that's what would matter if someone else in their shoes right now, right? So what it appeared was happening, and that's true for a lot of let's say Web2 brands, let's say ordinary companies that they're coming into the Web3, right? What happens usually is they don't know the culture, they don't know the narrative, they haven't spent time inside this industry, and then when they do things, we all could see it in a different light, right? And it just looks like I guess maybe a analogy for that is I'm just thinking right now, boxing, for example. Let's say a amateur like boxer comes in, throws the jab in a specific way, have his guard up in a specific way, and then anyone in that industry who is good, they can see it, right? They can, like, it takes them 2 seconds to be able to see it, and they lose respect. Now in this case, if we're talking about finances, that means no investment. So that means people will just be like, I'm not going to invest in that, right? Which is very important. In the boxing scenario, it would just be like, okay, well, that's my opinion of this amateur person. But in this industry, that means, okay, I'm not going to invest, right? And obviously that's a big deal. So the raise goes down in value. Now, obviously, Porsche didn't need the raise of the money. They were actually doing it just to sell out, and they didn't accomplish that. So that's why I would say, and again, I mean, I'm as a person outside, as much as I know, right? Whatever they've gone through and all that, they know obviously better. But point is, if you get people who are savvy in this market, at least to advise you, and just you run your ideas by them, then a lot of these mistakes could be avoided. I would say that's probably the biggest thing to do in this industry, as opposed to just say, well, how different could it be than any other business, and then just coming in and then launching and then being unsuccessful. Because the consequence of not being successful is, once you have one project that's not successful in this Web3, then it's a lot harder to actually have your second. And the opposite is true. Once you have one successful project in this industry, then it's actually a lot simpler to then do second one as a success as well. Because what happens is also just psychology of investors, and you got to think actually greedy investors in crypto. So they at the beginning, maybe they look at other people, see, okay, are other people investing? But not once you're sold out, they already think they missed out on the first one. For the second one, they want to be maybe even earlier than the previous people that they bought into that project, right? So there's a lot of little details like the psychology, the execution, who to hire. Let's say, for example, what kind of influencers to hire if you want to do influencer marketing. What should your website look like? What should your art look like? What should be the narrative, the messaging? What chain should you go on? Like, for example, Manchester United went on Tezos, right? Whereas, let's say, Yoga Labs, they're only launching on Ethereum. Now they're actually thinking of even moving on Solana. So all these little details, so chain, price, what the art looks like, messaging, art, website, who to hire, who to do collaborations with, all these pieces, it's good to run it by some people who've been in the industry. They've seen things. Just inevitably, someone who has seen things, they'll be able to tell you things that you wouldn't know, right? And so I think that I would say probably would have saved Porsche in this example, like a lot of challenges, right? And then the second thing you asked is like, what are some challenges I have? Now, I mean, as much as I know a lot of providers in this industry, the challenge in this industry is that the execution of a community building, B, actually selling out the NFTs changes every 2 months, about 2 months. So this means if I come up with these strategies and I'm successful, I can run this for about 2 months, maybe even less, right? And then after that two months is gone, then we're just starting fresh. So now the strategies that worked in the past, like I mean, I'll give you even like a example to just emphasize this. So at the beginning in the bull run 2021, I had a course where I was telling people, I'd be like, hey, these are strategies very successful to build a Discord community very quickly with running Instagram ads. And then literally 3 weeks after that, everyone in my course, they were messaging, they're like, hey, this is outdated, it doesn't work. And then I was like, oh, wow. Like I wasn't expecting, because I came in from different industry. I wasn't expecting 3 weeks. Like that is so short, you know? And I told them, I was like, no, this is literally 3 weeks old. Like it can't be outdated. And it was, right? So, and then we had to come up with a new thing. And so that's the tough part. Is like, I've been thinking about writing a book, and I don't know, like
changes so fast.
Yeah, I'm afraid writing something, and then by the time it gets to people's hands, everyone's gonna be like, well, this is not really useful. So I had to so I'm thinking of like really just maybe like fundamental things that always gonna stay true, right? So I think that's one big challenge, continuously changing. Second challenge is obviously the market itself is volatile. So if you're selling some e-commerce product, let's say you're selling some pair of shades, right? You source it from a provider maybe in China that's very like, let's say, cost effective, and then you can do 5x 10x, sell it. Doesn't matter if you sell it in the summer, it doesn't matter if you sell it in the winter. It's just people gonna buy a pair of shades, right? Versus crypto, market sentiment changes almost daily. So while you're building, depends on your timing of things, then things may change like significantly. So that's another big issue, but sometimes it's in your favor as well. So if obviously market sentiment is good, then things go a lot faster. And then the third thing is there are a lot of providers that you don't see their face. You only see a let's say image on their Twitter. And it's an image of an NFT. You don't know who they are. You never get on a call with them. You never get on a Zoom call with them. You never meet them in person. And then you're dealing with these providers who some of them are good, some of them are not good. And then so like even myself going into for my own collection, I came in, I was like, no way I'm gonna pay some people who are not gonna deliver. But it did happen to me as well. So of course at like million let's say scale smaller than it will happen on to another person who's coming in, but it's important just to be updated, is to just be obviously very vigilant of what's happening, and then just having help. Like it's not a one man kind of thing. So I would say those are some of the biggest challenges we've had. I would say other collections, they have a lot more challenges. They don't know what art to pick. They pick an art that they think is cool, and then they bring it, and then like the industry is like, not really, that was like 2 years ago we cared about that kind of art, right? Or maybe they can't build a community, right? They've been trying to build, posting every day, but they can't really actually get any momentum. So there's a lot of other challenges, but I told you about my challenges and then some of the other people's challenges as well.
So what are some of your personal goals or visions that we haven't discussed that you'd like to tell us about? And how can we get in touch with you? And if there's anything that we need to touch on that you want to share in your collections, your events, or what you want us to know, feel free.
Yeah, absolutely. So obviously we're in a good time for the crypto, and I would say even especially crypto trading. Again, this is not a financial advice. None of the stuff that I say is a financial advice, because I'm just doing, well, I guess I'm saying what I'm doing, for myself really. But I would say it's I would find it much better time right now, as all our traders, and to be honest, every other trader that I know is profitable right now, because it's a bull run. Market sentiment is a lot better, as opposed to, let's say, the bear market, right? So obviously there is a reason to at least look into it, right? And I've provided that with my collection. I've provided that way where for like very small, let's say, investment, someone who is completely new, like doesn't know anything about crypto, can actually get in and actually start just literally copy pasting signals from someone else who's a very let's say profitable and also very experienced in the trading specifically, right? So that's one, and of course it comes with risk and all the disclaimers and everything that people want to attach to themselves. Now, so that's one thing as far as how they can get into the opportunity. That's very, I guess, eminent right now. The second thing is I do not only just build my own collection, but also I advise on other people's collections. So and I'll help out, provide services inside those as well. So if anyone is looking to build their own, then they can just message us. We'll build them a custom, let's say, proposal, and not like an AI generated one, like actual humans sit behind a computer to come up with an idea for them, and then we'll send it to them. And obviously, if they wanted to do something with it, then they would. And best place to find me, I would say on Telegram. That's at Arvin K NFT. So it's ARVINKNFT. And then I'm on all socials, so LinkedIn, Instagram, not so much, but maybe more so this year. Yeah, any of those challenges that people want to get hold of us, they can. And of course, we have a website as well, sold.nfts.io. So we got popular for selling out NFTs. That's why everything is about selling out NFTs. And so, but really, like if it's even tokens, if it's anything inside crypto, like we're fully capable assisting people.
I think that's outstanding, and you're going to get a lot of responses from that, because I'm just so glad to have you on the show. And also just give us some insight on NFTs and the value and what's going on and why it's going on. So I'd like to thank you for your time and sharing. And if there's anything else you wanted to share, is there something that's rolling around in the back there that you have working that you want to just give us a peek on? Feel free to tell us, but if not, he's just not biting, y'all. He's not giving us any other information, so I'm going to close. So thank you for being with Pivoting to Web3 podcast. This is Donna Mitchell and Arvin. We've had a good time today, and thank you so much. And thank you for being with us. Good afternoon, good evening, and have a good day and shaping tomorrow together. I look forward to serving you.
Thanks for checking in the Pivoting to Web3 podcast. Go to pivotingtoweb3podcast.com to download and listen, or Web3 Game Plan to check out the videos. Thank you. We're shaping tomorrow together.